told them what the opening question was, so I think we can get started with that one. But the big question is, how should we decide which hash DAO parameters we use? So for deciding the commons upgrade, like moving to the ABC and conviction voting parameters, we'll have a DAO. And that DAO will have people who put skin in the game, and they have TEC tokens from impact hours and from putting depositing money into the hatch. And they will be the ones to decide which parameters we use. That's just how it will be. But we don't have a DAO yet, right? We have a few different metrics. We have C-stack tokens. Those are the people who can become hatchers. And everyone who has impact hours has C-stack tokens. We have impact hours, and those are people who get free tokens. And then we also have like individual perspectives, right? One person, one vote. Those are all three options. Also, there's various ways to vote, right? There's just like first past the poll, which one of these gets more yes votes. There's ranked choice voting for a multi-option choice. There's also dot voting. There's conviction voting. I mean, we could make a lot of things. So I don't want to poison the well with my own opinion yet, but which I already did, I guess. But I'd like to put it to you guys. How should we go about voting on which hatch DAO parameters we choose? And I'll pass it to Santi first.
I don't know if it's the best way to move forward, but I want to give you my opinion. All right, to me there's two types of members, if you want to call them. People who is really involved into the tech development, and they don't, not just the tech developers, but other people that's been around and understands quite well the parameters, and people who either they don't want to get involved into that, or they don't understand them, or both. To me, it probably make things easier if those who understand the parameters would decide 2 or 3 or 4 scenarios that people could choose upon with all those parameters, instead of going through every single one of them. Like, let's for instance have one scenario with all these parameters selected, another one with all these parameters, and why do we choose this scenario, a little explanations of why, and then let people decide which one they feel more comfortable with. And we can do that on one-on-one voting. It's probably the most reasonable, since we are all involved here. I don't think we should go on amount of impact hours or CSTK tokens or any other parameter like that. That's how I see it. In order to move forward on an easier way.
Let me just repeat what I heard. So have a council of people who are like qualified to make the choice, and then have them pick 4 to 5 options, and they would pick that through one person, one vote, and then I'm just saying that, and then everyone else would vote on the forum for which one of those 4 or 5 choices through one person, one vote. Is that right?
Right, something like that. So it's much easier for those who don't really understand all the parameters to get involved and to decide and choose, which is what I think it's what we all want. We want everyone to give their opinion. But if it's something really tough for them to understand, they are either not going to do it, or they will just, put some checks there without really getting involved in the process of understanding what those mean. I don't know if that makes sense or not, and if it's a good process or not, but it's just my opinion. I'll pass it to Tonga.
Can I speak a bit later? Because I don't know exactly what to say right now. I can pass it to Jake.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, Santi pretty much.
Sure, you can pass it to someone else then.
There must be. Can you guys hear me? Must be a delay.
Wow, what a cut you got.
I can hear you.
TV.
Okay. Santi really echoed my thoughts on it too. Whether making up the council, I mean, I don't know what that's going to look like, but there is a lot. There's too much for just anybody to come in and pick something. So running scenarios, coming up with 4 or 5 choices on what it would look like, I think is the best solution too. And I also was one person, one vote. Just it would make it a lot easier. And we try it. And too, as time goes on, those options can change, or we could go through all of them, and then we'd have something to work with after that too. I don't like C-stack voting. I think you just end up with more of a technocracy. I think we'd end up with the council just deciding everything all the time then, really. I don't really think impact hour should have anything to do with it either. I think it would, again, more people are going to have a bigger impact than others, and then their vote matters more. And that shouldn't be like that either. Really, yeah, I'm pretty much just the same as Santi. I think that's really the best way to try and move forward with it, just picking parameters. I'll pass it to Livia.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, I do resonate a lot with what Santi said. I would just add to that this council should be held based on the advice process, and adding at least a percentage of representatives that are not necessarily people that understand a lot the parameters, but people that would be impacted by them. So just to have other opinions weighing in, and then that this council would come up with alternatives. I think that's a great idea. And I do like one person on one vote in this sense, but I also think it's interesting the impact hours, because the impact hours kind of show the people that have been really involved. So therefore, they might be more informed. And I think this is a good type of decision to have informed people having more of a say. And I pass to Zaptimus.
Thanks, Livy. Yeah, I also think what Santi was saying, it makes a lot of sense. And I also think like Livy, but at the same time, I'm not agree that it's full impact hours. I like more the CSTK tokens since it represents both things. Because impact hours, for example, like you and Griff don't have that much, and you are involved in here like from the whole time, and it yeah, I think CSTK token should be more fair, and it should represent better the involved the people are in the project. And I think I'll pass it to Griff.
If someone could write Septimus's response in the notes, that'd be really valuable for me. I'm going to go off the wall. Personally, I don't like the council idea, mostly because I like this meme of meme decision making. It's important. I like this meme of no technocracy. And the council, even if Livia stacks it with SoftGov and the stewards team or whatever, still feels like a technocracy. I really like the idea that anyone can propose parameters But parameters will never be decided one by one. It'll always be, here is the list of parameters. And I know it's hard for me to explain that and get that across. Not doing the best job, but it will always be, these are all of the parameters. No one will ever say, hey, we should have a hatch min goal of this and that have any relevance to anything. A proposed set of parameters is all that will matter, because that's the only way this can work, in my opinion. And what I would like to see is kind of a mix. I'd like to see people propose parameters through one individual who, so that the people who are proposing the parameters are not being politically, the people who are voting are not politically biased. Oh, Zargum proposed these parameters, right? So I like to see them anonymously proposed, and then there'd be a bunch of sets of parameters. Those sets of parameters would be run through the same metrics, so we could see what happens if we raise $1 million. What happens if we raise 100,000? Oh, if we raise 100,000, all of these proposals fail except for this one, which has a min goal of 90,000. And this is how many impact hours you get. This is how many. What happens if we raise, $2 million? Having all these scenarios, and also having other metrics that are important, like how long will the hatch be from hatch to voting on the Commons upgrade. All of these important metrics being so that people feel like they can just quickly look and make a decision from their own gut about which scenarios they like. And then, now this is the crazy part, I would like 33% one person, one vote, 33% one impact hour, one vote, 33% C-stack, one token, one vote, and use ranked choice voting. So it's very complicated, but that's why, and there's no chance in hell that's what's going to happen. But that's my idea. Okay, Craig, welcome to the party.
Right.
The question is, how should we decide which hatched out parameters we use?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I have no epiphanies. Hey, is that doc linked in one of the chats somewhere? Could I get to that there?
It's in the general chat. You have no opinion on this?
No epiphanies. I don't have a solution. No epiphanies. I have opinions, but they're not certainly well formed. That would make, maybe by the end of this call I'll have a better epiphany, but right now, it's an open question.
Okay, Craig.
Hey, Griff.
Let you out.
What if the council rotated? What if there wasn't actual standing seats?
But there's only one decision to be made.
Yeah, but what if those people changed?
There's only one decision to be made. But there's only one decision to be made, so it doesn't make sense to change people per se. It's not like a council that would last for more than just one decision.
Right.
Griff, I also like your option, your idea, your proposal, but I try to put myself in the skin of someone who doesn't really understand the parameters and doesn't really want to hassle through going through the understanding. He wants to get involved, but it's tough for them to spend the time to try to understand them. Okay, so if we go for your option, which is a valid one, I think it's a good one also. I tend to see it maybe as a matrix of parameters and voters, and you as a voter go and put an option on those parameters. I think it's gonna make easier for the people to check instead of writing a number. And I also think that maybe it's good not to know who proposed the parameter, but it's good for me. It'd be good to know which parameters Sem is choosing, or which parameters you are choosing in order to make my opinion. Okay, so maybe the voting should be open.
I agree. I think the voting has to be open if it's one person, one vote, because we don't have really good civil protection. So we have to be able to say, no, it's a public voting. And hey, look at all these bots, or like, I've never heard of any of these people. They don't really count. They're not counting the people that, unless you, hey, who are you? Say who you are. I challenge your vote. You know, like, who the hell are you? Or maybe they have to have C-stack tokens to vote at all. And that might be a requirement. That would be our civil protection. Either way, I want to just respond to that and then give Tonga a chance. But we need to, for this approach to work, we need to make, and I'm getting YGG all set up to make like really easy metrics where when people propose parameters, they propose parameters. But that's not what people are voting on. People are not voting on these numbers. They're voting on the metrics. They're looking at like important metrics that are called out for each parameter proposal, so that there should be a friendly face, you know, that people can be like, okay, so this is the impact hour rate if we raise $500,000. Okay, that makes sense. And if we raise $1 million, you know, okay, these are the different impact rates based on how much we raise. Okay, this is the min goal that we have to raise, otherwise it fails. Okay, you know, and just like calling out the important things that we think are important for the hatch DAO, and making that, just putting it on a platter for everyone to read for each scenario that's out there.
I like your proposal. I don't understand it completely, but I like the numbers.
Okay, well, cool. Well, that's all we have to say on that. And we're not going back to this topic. So did anyone have any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the council could actually protect a technocracy from happening instead of creating one, because if it's just open, I doubt so much that people who don't understand about it would actually make a proposal, because it seems so intimidating, and you have to be informed to a certain extent to even make a proposal. So if it's in the structure of the council to involve people that are maybe not so informed, but to like really hear their opinion, like in an advice process type of way, then we are giving a chance for people to, like, we're creating a safe space for people to be involved and for their opinions to be weighted on like this consensus that would arise from this group of people, and then having different options. Maybe we could create metrics for how these options, like what points should they be taken in consideration when proposing all of these different solutions or parameters.
So what I would say to that is, to propose parameters, you can copy paste someone else's proposal and change one number. Like it should be, there'll be like a default proposal that we make, and then and then different people will propose different proposals through one person anonymously, and then maybe someone's like, I really like this proposal, but why is the max goal $1 million? Min goal $1 million. I don't want that risk. I'll just change that to 100K. I like that proposal. I think it should be easy to propose parameters. I don't know if that solves the council issue, or the fear of being able to propose.
Right. If we are able to do a good job with YGG, and it's easy to make a proposal because you don't have to understand parameters at all you have to see is the outcome of your decision, then we don't need the console at all.
That could make it very organic too, because people would start to just see how things flow, and we might even just naturally come up with different names for different scenarios, and people would just associate that with something, you know, and we'd actually really create something communicatable in a whole different way.
Yeah, if it's very easy, it makes sense.
Well, we'll see if we can make it easy. Definitely can't promise, but that's the dream. But I like this. I do like the council backup. If we can't make it easy, if we fail at our job, and it's you know, we got to have a plan B, and a little bit of sprinkling a little technocracy or like hierarchical process. I mean, this is pretty common, right? You have a group of people I mean, we even did it with the DAO. We had curators, right? Not anyone can just propose anything.
Griff, your connection is really bad. Is it bad for anyone
There
else?
is a yeah.
We keep losing people.
You're
You're
mute,
muted
Griff.
now.
How is it now?
That's much better.
Oh, yay. Thank you for calling out. I got connected to the wrong spot. Okay, I'm looking for, yes. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to do during this call. The main one is to go through this horribly scary, difficult to understand code that basically picks all of our parameters, and just one by one go through this thing to demystify it, because it's really not that scary. It's just written in the wrong font that scares people. Other thing, but before we do that, I want to mention this task. Ooh, no, it's not it. Well, there's a goal. What we need to do is turn this scary document into a Google Doc that fits the Oregon standard for specifying DAOs. They have iterated through this process, and it will ensure that we call out any magical multi-sigs that Tonga has mentioned are important to call out, and roles that the DAO has in minting tokens and these sorts of things. So by following that spec and including all of these parameters in it, we might uncover a few parameters that Sem is hiding from us. That evil man. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, but he might just forget that it's important to note that, you know, there's this one magic like filter or something that's a smart contract over here, things like that. Yeah, so that's going to be the task of this next, like, over Christmas break for the TEC params group, is to actually take that test hatch that we have spec'd out now, and turn the spec and kind of reverse engineer what happened, like what we would have voted on to make this test hatch exist. And then we can demystify it further. But if there's no objections, I would love to just go through this document. Oh no, I'm not sharing screen. I'm sorry. Well, that probably didn't make any sense. I was showing all sorts of cool screens. Go through the TE Commons template and demystify it. So let's just start at the top. This, by the way, is what creates our DAO. The underlying code base is there, but this is what makes it the TEC. So there's some random stuff that we really don't have to worry about, right? Like the name, which network is it on, what's the DAO ID. These are things that really, you know, are more like foundational level things, back-end code stuff. Like which network is it on? You know, that determines the block time and these other things. The hatch template address. This is like basically where the hatch code base is being copied from on chain. And then there's some constants. Everything in Solidity is in seconds. So an hour means this many seconds. A day means this many seconds. 100% of a token in Solidity is 1 to the E18 because of decimals, like on one token. So percents end up being, so that we don't have rounding errors, we just use a very large number of percent. Instead of 100, we use 1 with 18 zeros. And then, yeah, I don't even think we use fundraising 100% anymore. Parts per million. These things are for the augmented bonding curve, and we'll probably scrape them out. Contributors process per transaction. So when at the end of the hatch, we have to actually dish out all the TEC tokens. When you put into the hatch, you're not going, I'm pretty sure. No, we do. The people who contribute to the hatch, they get TEC tokens, but the impact hours people, they get the impact, the TEC tokens for those impact hours at the very end. And we can only send so many tokens in one block. So this says that you can only, puts a limit of 10 people that can be processed in per transaction, just to avoid getting stuck. It's kind of a safe. Block time is dependent on the network. For us, it's 5 seconds on XDAI. Collateral token. So this is like, what are we raising money in? This is wrapped XDAI. So yeah, I'm going to keep going there. If anyone has any questions, please interrupt me. This defines the name and this token symbol. Then there's score token. So this is like which token is your membership score. And for us, it's the CStack token. So it reads the CStack token balance to see how many wrapped XDAI you can put in. The decimals for CStack are 0. So like there's no, you can't have a fraction of a CStack token. So that's just, this is just a helper. Hatch Oracle ratio, 0.005. So this says that if you have 1 CStack token, you can put in 0.005 wrapped XDAI. To put that in terms we can understand, to send 1 wrapped XDAI to this contract, you need to have 200 CStack tokens. And that's because this is a test. Obviously, we will make that much lower. We don't want people to send too much money to this contract. That's why this is so high. It will probably be more like, who knows what it'll end up being. That'll be something we vote on, but it could be more like 1-to-1. 1 CStack token you can send one wrapped X die to the contract. Okay, so then we have the Dandelion settings. This is the requirements for voting for the upgrade. So 60% support required, 2% quorum, 3 days of voting. We're just going to do a quick vote for the test. 8 hours of buffer, 24 hours of block time, blah, blah, blah. And maybe we should make this 7 days for our test. I don't know. Yeah, Zeb?
How can you reach 60% of support required with only 2% of the quorum?
So the quorum says how many people have to vote. And then support required is of the people who voted, how many said yes? No, it's a great question. Thank you so much, Septimus,
thanks.
for going through this. Because, hey, this is being recorded, and maybe if someone wants to read this, then, this can be a how-to video. Okay, so yeah, vote duration blocks, buffer blocks, execution delay blocks. There's blog posts for those. Thank you, Jake, for making all those things happen, and for everyone who wrote them. And then the most important thing is the tollgate fee, which is how much money does it take to propose a vote to the DAO? Or not, sorry, it's not the most important, but it's more important than execution delay and buffer blocks. Those are just like random delays. But the tollgate fee, so for someone to propose to upgrade to the commons, they'll have to spend 3 wrapped X die on that. And then hatch min goal. So this is how many collateral tokens are required to hatch. So this will be, our hatch will fail if we don't raise 5 wrapped X die. I hope we can do it, guys. And then 1 wrapped X die is 1 die. So if we don't get $5, we're screwed. We don't deserve it if we don't get $5. Hatch max goal. This is basically we cannot raise more than 1,000 X die, even though that there is enough C-stack tokens to send 4,000 wrapped X die to this contract. There's an artificial max that's put there of 1,000. So if people didn't, if we reach 1,000 wrapped X die, we'll actually end the hatch early. And the people who contributed are the only people who get to contribute. Hatch period is 15 days. So this will give us the time to show people how to participate in the hatch and answer their questions. The hatch exchange rate is really small. This means that if someone donates or if someone deposits 1 wrapped X die to this contract, they get like 1 million tokens or something. It's kind of fun. Then vesting cliff and vesting complete period. These are interesting. So there's actually no. We're basically leaving these in, but during the hatch period, people are not allowed to withdraw their funds. So people will get C-stack tokens, but then they can't get their money back out until after the hatch period. So and then after that hatch period, there should be all the TEC tokens will have been issued for impact hours. So they will effectively be losing money for the cultural bill tribute, the impact hour tribute. I don't know, whatever we want to call it. Vesting complete period. So yeah, there's a cliff of 1 second, and then the vesting lasts 1 second. Basically no vesting. And there will be vesting when we do the commons upgrade, but that's something else. Hatch percent supply offered. I think we're just saying, I don't know what that means. I think I don't think it means anything at this point. It just says 100%. So I think that just means how much of the hatch is like going to be part of the supply. And then hatch percent funding for beneficiary, 0.05. So this says 0.05% is the hatch tribute. So in this test hatch, we have a 5% non-refundable donation to the TE Commons funding pool, and we have the cultural build tribute. So they're both in there. And then open date just says what time when the hatch opens. Like upon deploying this contract, can people send money right away? Yes.
The hatch percent supply offered may be the split between reserve funds and the funds we keep for projects.
I think it's a step before that, because that is the hatch percent funding for a beneficiary, which is what percentage of hatch contributions go to the funding pool and are non-refundable. So I think this is like what percent of the hatch funds are being considered accessible by people for withdraw, or which part. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to ask Sam.
I think if we follow the diagram that I created with Sam, that's the split between reserve pool and funding pool. But I may be wrong.
So then hatch percent funding for beneficiary.
That's the amount that remains always in the DAO.
Okay, and so then what's this one?
The split, the amount that the split between reserve fund and funds for projects for the DAO. The split of the two bolts, the one that goes for the bonding curve and the one that goes for funding.
But then then I guess how is that different than hatch percent funding for beneficiary?
That's the tax.
For the hatch tribute?
Yeah.
Isn't the hatch tribute is what goes? Yeah. The hatch tribute is what goes to the funding pool.
The hatch tribute is always there. Okay. When you put money in, 5%, or right here it's a 5%. It's the amount of the percentage that always remains there, even if you get out.
Yeah.
Even if you exit, if we let you exit before, you are always going to lose 5%. But the previous parameter is how we split the funds between reserve and funding once we create the funding curve. But I may be wrong, Griff. I may be wrong. We can ask him.
Yeah, I'm still having trouble understanding how that's different than the hatch tribute in this one, but that's okay. We will need to just ask them. But now let's go to impact hours. So impact hours CSV. There's going to be a list of addresses and number of impact hours, and that will be there. And then impact hour decimals. This is just how many decimals do we use for calculating the impact hours. It's really not important. It's the precision of impact hours. So if you have 1.55555 impact hours, then this will say you have 1.556 impact hours. And then, or maybe it's 5, maybe it doesn't round. And then max impact hour rate and expected raise per impact hours. So this is kind of wild, and I want to go a little deeper on this. So I don't know how many of you guys have played with this, but it's awesome. This is something that YGG and Sem put together. And basically, it's a tool for deciding, for playing with impact hour rate. So here we have how many total impact hours are there. So right now we're using about 2,500. M, this is considered the expected raise per impact hours. What M effectively means is how much money do we raise divided by the total number of impact hours for everybody to get half of the max rate. So so here the max impact hour rate is 1 penny, right? And so M determines how much money we have to raise in total, divided by the total number of impact hours. That's what M is. How much money we have to raise total, divided by impact hours, to get half of this max rate. So 0.012 is, I think it's 30. Let me see. 30 divided by 2,000. Yeah. So this is saying M at 0.021 is saying if we have 2,500 impact hours and we raise $30, then people will get an impact rate of 0.005 wrapped X die per impact hour. So these are horrible numbers because we're doing this test. It's like, whatever. But basically, if we raise 30 die, which I think we can do, this is the expected raise for me, my opinion, then people will get half a cent for every impact hour that they get. Okay. And what's cool with this formula is that you can calculate down here, you can calculate the amount, the RX, which is the rate per impact hour that people will receive, and PX, which is the percentage of cultural build tribute that the hatchers pay. So if we raise 50, die, then the hatchers will pay 31% of the tax, and everyone will get, 0.625 cents. If we raise $150, wow, look how much the tax rate goes down, right? And so we can kind of drag this around and we can see the different scenarios. If we only raise 10, then the impact hour people are paying, quite the tax. 60% of their funds go to, that contributors are paying quite the tax to the impact hour people. So this will help us determine the minimum goal and analyze the impact hours. Any questions on that? Was that completely over everyone's head, or did that make sense?
No, I actually think though, because I remember we put that in the last call when that graph he made that up, and it was really cool. I really think it'd be cool if we could get more people to play with that, like because it really is awesome. And it kind of also makes me think about like that whole making the parameters organic, because that's what you're talking about with YGG, making something more visual. I just we really need to explain this in the you did a good job, but explain it in more layman's terms, I guess. Maybe more of us need to really understand it, because this is really cool. Because seeing it and being able to then describe something like this to people about everything, is huge, because it would solve so many problems that we wouldn't even have to deal with. Like Sem and YGG doing this is awesome.
The dream is that we could have a place for everyone to put in their parameters and get cool graphs like this for different scenarios. That's the dream for sure, to make it super easy. I don't know if we can achieve that website dream, but we'll get close. We'll get close at the very least. But the main thing here that's obvious is that as we raise more funds, the hatchers win and the impact hours people win. That's the big thing. Impact hours people get more value per impact hour, and the hatchers get less tax per contribution. Tonga, I saw you on mute. Did you have a question about this too?
I just wanted to say that this looks amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, just wait. YGG is going to put a lot more time into this in the next 2 months. Okay, so hatch rate is following this. 1 penny per impact hour is the max you guys can get paid. Don't be greedy about it. And then this crazy equation basically says 30 die is what it takes to get to half of the max rate. Okay, and that's it. Those are the parameters. Parameters demystified. Maybe. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I have a question related, like from the graph we were saying before, and I was thinking, why we have a max goal? Since that line we see, it's like when they reach more money, it's still the same. Why do we need a max goal? At the beginning, I was thinking it's because maybe we don't want to have a lot of money because then impact hours people would lose some governance. But right now, seeing that, I see there is a point when it's right, so it doesn't go down or up. So I don't understand.
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to have a max goal. A few of these parameters can basically be set to be irrelevant. The max goal is one of them that I expect many people to set to be irrelevant, but at the same time, there was this one time in my life where we expected to raise just a little bit of money and then ended up raising 14% of all Ether in existence, and it kind of became a big problem. So like, it's like having a max, at least as an option, is like I don't know. I like it.
I think that sorry, Griff. I think the curve is great, okay, but still needs some explanation for those who are really not into this. So if we don't get the chance to have a web, which I don't know if we will, but anyway, we could have several of those curves represented together with some text or wording next to them, showing the different scenarios that we would reach with those specific parameters. And that would be similar to what the council would propose. Okay, instead of having a council, we're putting here several scenarios. So even if you don't get a clue of what we're dealing with, look, if we have these parameters, this is going to be the outcome. If we get these parameters, this is going to be the outcome. Okay.
Yeah. I agree, and I think those scenarios are really what people will look at, right? Like, oh, okay, we raise this much, what happens? We raise that much, what happens? We raise that much, what happens? Okay, let's compare these metrics. Okay, cool. Cool. Is there any other questions about the parameters while we're here? This is a little deep dive.
There is no decision yet about multiple Dandelion voting instances, or there is, I don't know.
So for the Token Engineering Commons Hatch DAO, there's really only one decision that has to be made, and that is upgrading to the commons and picking the parameters for the augmented bonding curve and conviction voting. And then for those parameters, they will that parameter set is going to be really fucking crazy. Okay, it's going to be wild. It's like every one of those parameters is going to have a role that can change it. And so, like when we're talking about exit tribute and entry tribute, there's going to be a dandelion voting instance that can change those roles, that can change the exit tribute. So there'll be a lot of debate on the number of voting instances for that live within that voting, that parameter, or sorry, that live within that commons upgrade. And that's where we get to choose the dandelion voting instances. For this, there's only one choice. Like, it's basically God mode. There's only God mode. There's really nothing else to vote on to do anything. There's just like the one decision, which is which commons do we upgrade to this commons or not. And everybody and the big thing here is that everybody in the hatch DAO, they can redeem their token for the die that's in there. So everyone can leave. Any individual that wants to can leave if they don't like the decision, unless they vote yes on it. If they vote yes on it, then they can't leave.
But they will leave.
But if they vote no or don't vote,
they will leave the tribute, which is that the last parameter that's 5% in setting the test hatch.
They will leave the hatch tribute, and they will be diluted in their TEC token holdings by the impact hours people. So effectively, if let's say in this test hatch, and I'm sure people will do it, it'll be fun. Let's say that we raise 35 wrapped X die. Wow, look at how fast that changes. Oh, it's because I changed this. So this is 1, 2, I think. Yes. Okay. So these are the parameters right now that Sem and I decided, because screw you guys, this is technocracy. And then we have, if we raise 30 wrapped X die, then everybody will get half a penny per impact hour. And the cultural build tribute will effectively be 41% for impact hours and 5% for the hatch tribute. So if you put in 1 wrapped X die, you will only be able to get 53.33333 cents back if you decide that you don't like the idea. If we raise 80, or let's see if I can find a round number here. Oh yeah, if we raise 95, then the cultural build tribute goes down to 20%. And the hatch tribute is 5%. So then if you put in 1 wrapped X die, you'll be able to pull out 75 cents. If you don't like the commons upgrade. So like, oh my God, they turned this into a total Ponzi scheme. It's never gonna work. I'm out. Oh, Craig, what's up?
Sorry, I meant nope, nothing.
Ah,
25% Ponzi scheme.
yeah.
Hey, I got something I want to bring up. I will say that this whole impact hour, like right here on what we're talking about, and making this really clear and easy to understand is giant for onboarding. Because most people are going to get really attracted to impact hours. And if we make this really clear and they can see where they can benefit, but they have to join the community, and then we pretty much direct them to Gravity and SoftGov, then we can actually, like, as a marketing standpoint, we can actually then really easily compartmentalize and direct people exactly where they should go. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
we have clear steps and then we can bring them into the whole community and then direct them.
What I love about this is almost every like token economy has like, oh, this many % of the tokens go to the team. Our team is impact hours. This is the percentage that go to them. And the percentage is dependent on how much we raise. If we raise a lot, less goes to the team, and more goes to the people who are contributing money, because they're contributing more, right? And that matches what it should be, right? If not very many people contribute money, then there was a larger percentage of the sweat equity that put this together. They should be rewarded more. But they get rewarded less in dollar amount, but more in percentage wise. And as people contribute a lot more money, well, that's going to have a huge impact. So we get less percentage wise, but at the same time, impact hour people get more money. So it's like a win. It's a very much a win-win situation where that I feel like has a good model that people will like, instead of just the team saying, yeah, we get 30% of the tokens because it's a nice round number. Oh yeah, and who's the team? Well, I picked my friends, and we're doing all the work, so like, it's kind of fun. Anyway, we're at the top of the hour, so thank you guys for your time. I'm sorry this wasn't as interactive as it usually is, but I hope it was useful.
Yeah, I like this